Shani Makes. Here is another tutorial for making Mondays. Today I am going to show you how to make a two-piece style face mask. This mask will give you maximum coverage. If insulated, it is great for winter. It cups out the chin to stop it from riding up. It also has an optional nose bar for a better fit. If you can't find one, you can cut one out from a mask. The edges are bound, so you don't need to worry about finishing raw edges. Download this pattern. Do your own research for the mask you want to make. For demonstration purposes, I am using a cotton for the outer layer, then a poly cotton for the lining. Put the fabrics together and feel if it's thick enough for your project. I usually use lightweight interfacing to not alter the structure of the fabric too much. But this time I feel this is too thin for this project. So I am going to try medium weight interfacing today. I think it's going to be perfect. To make it more manageable, I am going to cut out the fabric big enough for the patterns. Next we are going to find out how long the binding we need to make. Place the patterns together as if it's already sewn. Measure the top edge and the bottom edge only. The nose dart is going to be sewn, so ignore that. Double the measurement and add a few more centimeters for luck. Make sure your fabric is cut square in a corner. Use a set square to give you this angle of 45 degrees. If you don't have a set square, I'll show you how to do this later in the tutorial. Cut the bias strip 4 cm wide. The tool I am using is called Pattern Master. If you do buy one, get the thick acrylic one. It is better made, available in metric and imperial measurements. Binding is cut on the bias grain of the fabric at 45 degrees against the grain. It allows the fabric to bend around curved edges. How to achieve a 45 degree. Here I am showing you my corners of 45 degrees. Get a piece of square paper that hasn't been cut on the two edges. Fold the bottom edge up to the side. That triangle is true 45 degrees. You can use that as a guide for cutting your bias binding. Press all your fabrics. Bond the interfacing to the outer fabric. Glue side touching the wrong side of the fabric. Fold the fabric in half so we can place the pattern on the fold and on grain. I am measuring so that my fabric are parallel on both edges. Place your patterns on the fold and pin. I've already corrected this bit on the pattern. The mark is not a notch and the seam allowance goes to the edge. Notch where the colour notches are according to your chosen pattern. Notch the nose dart. Don't forget about these notches too. It's time to join the chin piece. Match up the notches first before matching the tip of the chin. Put the pin in exactly 1 centimeter away from the edge of the tip. So 1 centimeter seam allowance. Backstitch the beginning and backstitch the end. Snip off this bit to allow the fabric to turn over. Repeat on the lining fabric. I don't usually use pins, so I am going to just speed through this. Most people, when making bias binding, to save fabric, you have to join a lot of pieces together. I will show you how to extend the bias binding. Double check that both edges are compatible. It should look like this. Flip the right hand side over and down, so that the right side of the fabric is touching the right side of the other fabric. This is the only rule you need to remember. No matter how much you slide the fabric up and down, keep the diagonal edge aligned. All you need to do now is sew between the intersections. This looks like V shape on the top and the bottom. Put the needle down first, then press the foot. You just need to sew from one V to the other V. Backstitch the beginning and the end. Snip off the excess fabric. Let's watch that again. This time I have to flip upwards. The rule still applies. This is how you are going to prepare your bias binding. Press all the seams first. Fold the fabric in half and press with an iron to create a crease. Open it up. Now you're going to fold both edges down and press. Sometimes you might see me press one side first, then the other, but to tell you the truth, I don't really press at all. This is just for the viewers that haven't made bias binding before. You could always use a bias binding maker for this, if you're planning to make a lot of bias binding. Fold it once more. This is the final width. Check the seam is not bulky at the chin area. You might have to trim a bit more. That's better. Repeat on the lining. Give the seams a press. Put the two pieces of fabric together, making sure both sides are the right side out. Place the wrong side touching the wrong side. Mash up the fabric and baste the top and bottom edges. Stitch about 3 mm from the raw edge. As for the seam allowance, don't open it. Fold one layer one way, the other layer opposite. Trim off any loose threads. Sew the nose dart first. Ignore the binding edge, I kind of forgot and sewn the binding already. I'll come back to that later. Put a pin on the end of the dart so you know where to start. Make sure you have notched your fabric. Here's a tip for you if you can't sew a straight line without drawing it. Before you start, pull a bit of thread out of the needle long enough for the dart. Lower the needle down at the beginning of the dart, then put your presser foot down. Backstitch. Now lift up your presser foot. Bring the thread to the front. Place it on the notch. Now you have a guide to sew a straight line. Remember to backstitch at the end. Remove the thread. We're going to attach the bias binding now. Open up your binding. Place the right side touching the right side of the mask. Leave about 1 cm hanging off the edge. Now match the raw edges. Backstitch the beginning, sew in the crease. And backstitch the end. Leave about 1 cm extra hanging at the end. Trim off any excess fabric. Neaten the edges. Now fold the binding edge down to meet the edge of the mask. Then fold over again. Make sure the binding covers over the stitch line. This will guarantee you will catch it later when sewing blind. Use pins to secure. Repeat on the other side. We are now going to sew on the right side of the binding, about 1 to 2 mm away from the seam edge. Make sure you remember to backstitch the beginning and the end. Repeat on the other side. Trim off the excess binding. Insert the nose bar by sliding it into the binding. Make sure it's in the nose area and not the chin. Sew both sides to secure. Make sure you remember to backstitch the beginning and the end. Repeat on the other side. Fold the edges 1 cm, then another 1 cm. Stitch on the edge. Backstitch the beginning and the end. Repeat on the other side. Cut the length of elastic required. If your elastic is synthetic, burn the ends to stop it from fraying. Use a hair grip or bobby pin to thread the elastic through. Repeat on the other side. I like to use a ruler loop turner. I hope you like this design and give it a go. Here is another option for the overhead and neck strap to take the strain off the ears and make it more secure on the face. Click on the link in the description or go to my website to download project patterns and envelopes. Please support by giving me a like, follow, subscribe and share. Thank you. Here's a little gift for you. Download the envelope to keep all your patterns organised. Thanks for watching. See you next time.